What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today, because you lot smashed that like button way above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I'm going to bring you a test and combo video for the Yubel Radiant Typhoon Themesmith profile I showed you all the other day. Now this deck can be very good, it's a very good underdog. It has that ability to bridge into the Themesmith quite nicely. You can make it more consistent, you can adapt it if you want to and kind of cut out some of the sharper edges of the deck, and what I mean by that is like getting rid of the lurry can be quite useful for you. It can give you a couple of different options to open up. You do have a lot more creativity with it. But with all of that out of the way, after a very decent shuffle, we're just going to dive head first into it. We're going to do 2 test stands going first and 2 going second, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, as we're going first, our opponent's going to have no spells and traps, and what I quite like about this is it shows you just how much a Sven can do, which is really good. So we're going to special summon down the Sven. Sven's effect is going to allow us to add a card from deck to the hand. Now, it does get a little bit awkward because we're going to be able to add the Radiant Typhoon chance if our opponent does droll us. Now, what I mean by that is if our opponent goes, cool, on resolution droll, you can then chain the Radiant Typhoon chant. It will stop your Nightmare Throne being able to be... you can still activate it, but you won't be able to get the maximum value from it, which is a bit annoying, but you'd still have plays to make. That's where your Themesmith comes into play, and you can kind of work off the back of that one. If they don't draw us, happy days, we get chance to resolve and go from there. If they ash us, we know that our Nightmare Throne's going to resolve. So if they Imperm or Veiler us, again, Nightmare Throne gets us into our Samsara Lotus. So they're still going to need 2 forms of interruption to try and stop us building from this point on. So we're going to activate the chant. The chant is going to then allow us to add the Eldam. We'll special summon down the Eldam, and then this will allow us to grab a Radiant Typhoon monster. So we're going to grab our second Sven. So we've got Sven that we can do this exact same combo all over again the next turn. But the benefit of that one as well is that we have Sven as discard fodder. Now, before we put ourselves into any other like more damaging positions or like riskier positions, you can very easily activate the Nightmare Throne now if you wanted to. This will kind of again tease your opponent of, okay, well, if you've got an Ash Blossom, if you've got an interaction, now you can do it. If we want to protect our Nightmare Throne from being able to be resolved, and we're like, you know what, we don't feel that we need to get into the Themesmith package, you can go for a Gossip Shadow. So like you've got a couple of different options on where you'd want to take it from this point on. If you're really worried and you want to protect from the Biru, again, you go Nightmare Throne. This will then work you into Samsara Lotus. Samsara Lotus gets you into Spirit, which would be summon number 4. And then straight away, because you've got Spirit, you get Pain. And then you've got the ability to go into a Phantom of Yubel. So you've got loads of different options for you. I'm just going to go straight through the Themesmith package. That's when you're going to set up protection from the Biru or kind of like check your opponent and be like, hey, if you've got Nibiru, now's the time. So summon number 3, summon number 4, tribute this off, going into summon number 5. We'll go with Lacrima. Lacrima's effect will send from deck to grave, which will be your engraver. And then this is probably like the last chance that they're going to get to Nibiru because you'll go Lacrima's effect. Not Lacrima's effect. Requiem's effect, equipped it to Lacrima. Now we can force to go into a Neko Equip. Like that's our next play. Our next play is going to go into a Neko Equip. So they might be like, okay, cool, well, I need to get rid of it now. And if they don't, you put both of these together, you go into Neko Equip. Then what you can do is you can utilize your Engraver's effect, put back a Light Fiend, so you can put back your Djinn if you want to keep your Lacrima in the graveyard so that you can, you know, put it back to the deck, bring back Requiem and go from there. Bring back your Engraver, and now that this is the last moment that they can Nibiru you, because if they don't Nibiru you now, you're just going to go, okay, cool, overlay both of these, and go into the High Wave King Caesar. You've done all of this, you haven't used your normal summon, so now we can go, cool, activate Nightmare Throne. Nightmare Throne, I'm just going to put it sideways there. Nightmare Throne is then going to grab us our Samsara Lotus. Now, if your opponent's held an Ash Blossom back all the way for this Samsara Lotus, then fair play. But we're going to use Samsara Lotus' effect. We're going to tribute this off. We're going to get us access to Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel is then going to get us access to our Nightmare Pain. We're going to activate said Nightmare Pain, use Nightmare Pain's effect, destroy our Spirit of Yubel to get us access to our Gruesome Grave Squirmer. And then you've got the ability to kind of trigger off your Spirit of Yubel's effect. And then remember, with Nightmare Throne, if a face-up Yubel monster you control leaves the field by any card effect, you get to add to your hand or special summon a Yubel. Add to your hand one Yubel monster from the deck, grave, or banishment whose level is 1 higher than that monster, and then you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning condition. So we'll be able to utilize our Spirit of Yubel and our Nightmare Throne. So we're going to get Terror Incarnate, and we're going to be able to get our Yubel. Then we've got the Grave Squirmer, so we can utilize Grave Squirmer's effect to just summon itself down. We can destroy a Yubel or a Terror Incarnate if we wanted to. It's not like the end of the world if we do something like that. We still have loads more to play around with. What you kind of want to do is you want to try and loop back the Yubel and Spirits and all of that. So when you destroy cards, that's when you're going to be able to get a little bit further forward. So let's put, I mean, there's no real need to keep these on the field. So we can put these both into Yama. Then we'll use Yama's effect. This will then allow us to grab Shavara. Now we've got the 2 monsters in the graveyard, so we're now going to put Yubel back into the deck. We'll now put... I'm going to put Terror Incarnate back into the deck. I don't really need to worry about those, but I have that option to do it for us. So Phantom of Yubel. So we've got both of those, got everything we need to. We can now summon down the Gruesome Grey Squirmer. We don't need to destroy it yet. We can now use Shavara to target the Gruesome Grey Squirmer, destroying it, summon down the Shavara. Obviously, if I wanted to, I could link this off with the Yama. That's absolutely fine. If you want to destroy your Yama in the graveyard as well, you've got that option. But the idea is that we can... actually, maybe we're right. Maybe we just do it this way. So we can put these two together rather than destroying it for the Shavara. Let's put those two together. Let's go into Muckraker. Muckraker can get us back into sequence if we want it to. So now I've just got to try and figure out the best way we want to do on this one. So we'd use Grey Squirmer, bring back Spirit. Then we can use Shavara's effect, target the Spirit, destroying the Spirit using Spirit's effect, summon out Yubel. If we want to get a monster back from the grave, you can use Yama. I personally don't think it's worth using the Yama. I quite like leaving it in the graveyard so that if my opponent destroys something during their turn, I have that like, surprise, you forgot about this kind of vibe. We'll put these two together. We'll go into our Rage. Still got the Muckraker's effect if I want it to. Just trying to think what I want to go for. I mean, I can bring back a Light Fiend, but I don't think I need to. I'm just going to use Muckraker's effect, discarding this. We can bring back Yubel. And then in the end phase, we can bring back Samsara the Lotus. And then we'll use the Yubel maintenance cost. We can get rid of the Muckraker. Or you can keep the Muckraker on the field, entirely up to you. But the idea is, obviously, make sure you set the escape, which can also be chamber. But in this scenario, what we've got is we've got High Wave King with 2. We've got Phantom of Yubel with a negate. We've got Lotus with a negate. We've got Rage with a, like, go into an SP, which will end up being a double banish. Or, like, absorb 1, banish 1, and then if they do anything, you banish. And then on top of that as well, we've got the Nightmare Pain, making sure our opponent can only attack Yubel, and they're going to take all the damage that they do for that one. We've still got Yama in the graveyard for destruction protection. We've got Lacrima that can come back as well, as long as we clear off a bit of space on the field. And you're ideally going to want to make sure you use your High Wave King's effect, making sure you detach the Engraver first, that the Engraver is in the graveyard, so that if we do need to for the follow back, we can go for that one. But regardless, even if our opponent doesn't put anything on the field, so like this is a strategy I see quite a lot of people trying to do, and they don't put anything on the field. They just put like spells and traps. It's like, okay, cool, well, you haven't put any spells and traps on the field. You've done nothing but put spells and traps on the field. It comes back to my turn. Draw for turn, doesn't matter what I draw here. So now I'm just going to link off using my own stuff. So I've got the option to go into sequence if I want to, if I can get a Light Fiend back. I've got the option to go into SP Little Knight to kind of open up some space. So there's not really anything I need to like purely worry about. Plus I've got a second Nightmare Throne, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, so like, I'm going to an SP Little Knight. Like, I don't think I need to worry about High Wave King unless my opponent activates a spell track during their turn that will summon a monster. So I can very easily use Rage, which is of no use to me right now because I can't use this effect. So I might as well use Rage plus, I mean, like, I could use Yubel, I could use Samsara, it doesn't make much of a difference. SP will then try and banish one of the cards. Obviously, I can't attack directly that turn, but that's fine. Like, if they just set a monster, even then that will be to their detriment because then Yubel just goes attack, and then Phantom goes attack, and they take the damage. So yeah, it kind of puts them in a bit of a sticky situation. It is one of these very heavy combo decks, and I feel that the one thing that really kind of compressed, I suppose that's the right word, compressed the Yubel ability is the fact that Fualos is around. Now, I'm not saying Fualos is that big of an issue, but if you saw at the start of the turn, if they used Fualos on us, then we would, like, you'd probably consider just going into Gossip Shadow, and then you'd be trying to work your way into a Nightmare Pain. So you'd go Gossip Shadow, they'd get one draw off the back of that, and then you would go, you would then still be able to go Normal Summon Samsara D Lotus. Samsara D Lotus's effect to get you into Spirit of Yubel. They would then get a second draw, so they're up one card now, and then you'd have to leave it there. So like, you probably wouldn't destroy Spirit of Yubel to float into Yubel, and that's where it gets a little bit damaging. Anyway, now let's do our second test stand going first, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so again, really good hand on this one. So this one probably let us go a little bit more as well. If you're worried about drawing Lockbird, you can go Chant early stages. This will then just grab you Eldam straight away. You could also choose not to activate the effects of these, which would be quite funny, because you'd go, cool, main phase, special summon down Eldam, don't do any searching. Special summon down Sven, don't do any searching. And the chances are that they'll probably Ash this during the draw phase, if they have an Ash, maybe. If you want to try and bait out an Ash, you can go Normal Summon Samsara D Lotus and use it. But more than that, you just go, cool, overlay these. Specifically choosing not to search, of course you can search on both accounts, which will give you a Sven and another Radiant Chant. But you just do all of this. Straight into Requiem. Requiem's effect, that's probably like the biggest Ash bait ever. And if they Ash it, you go, okay, cool, Normal Summon Dark Beckoning Beast. And then build your plays from there. But even then, if you do that and they go Droll, you're probably going to want to be better off starting off with Samsara D Lotus. So, you know, you kind of read the room, read the environment a little bit, will be your best way of doing it. So Requiem, and if you haven't eaten the Ash, go into Lacrima. Lacrima sends Engraver. There we go. Then, depending on what you want to try and get to, Requiem, put these two together, go into Neck Equip, and then put back the Djinn, bring back your Engraver, overlay these two to High Wave King. Of course, if you don't want to do High Wave King, so you're not fearful of anything like that, then you'd go into your sequence into Desiree, or you could go into a Lacrima. You've got a couple of different options. But I feel that Wave King's probably like the most oppressive card you can probably do right now. I mean, I'd be very surprised. Like, if this card doesn't survive the next Forbidden Limited list, the only disappointment I'll have is the effect it will have on DDDs. Other than that, I'm quite happy to see this one go, and it means the Fiendsphere package is nowhere near the level of power it used to be. Okay, so we're still within Droll territory. And that's where if you go Normal Summon Dark Beckoning Beast and they go Droll, that's your biggest cry point, because you'd go, cool, normal this, add opening, and they go Droll. Like, this is the first chance they've had to actually Droll us. And then you go, oh, I knew you had Droll, that's why I didn't search over these two, and then you just stick with your hand like that, which isn't ideal. I mean, you'd still get additional normal. Actually, no, it would be absolutely fine. What am I talking about? You'd add this, you'd get your additional normal summon, you'd go Lotus. Lotus would get you your Spirit. Spirit's effect. I've got to try and remember on this one. Add or set. So we're going to set Nightmare Pain, activate Nightmare Pain. Now, obviously, we can't use Nightmare Pains to destroy. That would be like the biggest issue here. So you would probably, as I already mentioned, if you've been interacted with, you'd probably have to end it here, give or take. You can't go into Rage. So anything worth bringing back from the graveyard with Muckraker? I don't think so. Like, the only reason I'd go into the Muckraker would be to get the Dark Beckoning off the field, but at this moment in time, my opponent can only attack my Spirit, so I don't really mind that. So this is if we've been Drolled. But if we haven't been Drolled, you're like, cool, activate Opening Spirit Gates. Opening Spirit Gates grabs us a follow-up. So I'm just going to get another monster in the hand. So let's go for a follow-up for a second Dark Beckoning Beast. Additional normal summon of Samsara. Samsara into Spirit. Nightmare Pain. Destroy Spirit. Grab us Grave Squirmer, wherever it may be. Just jumping steps here. Grab us Grave Squirmer. Spirit floats into Yubel. We've got Opening the Spirit Gates. We'll use Opening the Spirit Gates effect. Discard this. Bring back Spirit. let's link these two off into Yama. Yama's effect, grab us Shavara. And then we've got two options here. We can Grayscale and destroy our own spirit, or we go Shavara. I mean, we'll get both effects off anyway. It doesn't make any difference. Summon down Grayscale, destroy spirit. Spirit's effect, float into Yubel. Shavara, destroy Yubel. This would then trigger Yubel. Grab this Terra Incarnate. Just makes it more awkward for our opponent to deal with. I mean, I could have Shavara in the graveyard. It doesn't matter, make much of a difference whether I put Shavara in the graveyard now or later. Go into the Muckraker. Definitely linked off the wrong card. Yeah, that was definitely the wrong way around. It should be this and this makes this. There we go. And then we've got Grave Squirmer, banish, bring back this. Do I want to keep Terra Incarnate on the field? I mean, I don't really need to. And then it's entirely up to you. Like, you just, if you want to link off this, you could like link off this and this. Get you into your Muckraker. I've so completely forgotten Phantom as well throughout this entire play. Oh dear. For like this entire play, I could have made Phantom like twice over, I think. So we'll put a Dark Beckoning back and a Terra Incarnate back. There we go. Slow should have got, for like, always go Phantom, the earliest possible option you have. So that's kind of me getting overexcited with this. So I've still got the Muckraker's effect. I can use Muckraker to discard the Sansara de Lotus. If there's anything worthwhile bringing back, if I'm being totally honest, there's nothing worth bringing back. Like, the only benefit of having the Muckraker here, which doesn't actually give us any benefit because I could have left it as it was, would be that I bring back the Sansara de Lotus and get rid of this. And we've got the exact same outcome. So without Nightmare Throne, we've still got the exact same outcome. So, yeah, I mean, the deck's really cool. I used to really enjoy Yubel. I thought it got a little bit too much when it was just relying too heavy on the Fiendsmith. I don't think it needs to rely heavy on the Fiendsmith itself. Like, Carlos, shout out to Carlos if he's watching this, is probably like the prime example of this one, is that Carlos has never had the Fiendsmith package. He's stuck with Super Poly package, and I really rate it because I think Super Poly in this deck is crazy. So crazy, because it doesn't matter what you put on the field. And it's so hard because it's so difficult to stop a Yubel hitting the field. Like, there are a couple of different ways. I'm not saying it's impossible. But once that Yubel hits the field, woof, that's a toughie. Anyway, shuffling up, cut up. We're now going to go second. So starting off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, again, this is just going to be gas. That's all it's really going to be. So you'd go, cool, standby phase, main phase, Sven. This is probably going to be a little bit harder actually, because if your opponent doesn't have any spells and traps, which I find it very hard to believe, because like if you're facing Drekatau, they put like 2 down. If you're facing Mitsu, they put 2 down. If you're facing Yummy, they put 2 down. So I think going second actually is going to be a lot harder. So we'd actually just have to go opening Spirit Gates, grab Dark Beckoning, hope and pray that they don't interrupt with us. Normal summon down Dark Beckoning's effect. Again, if they negate it, it's not the end of the world. Like, we won't get the additional normal summon, but we still have Spirit to kind of protect us during our opponent's turn. But it's not ideal. Like, it still gets... And we've still got Grey Squirmer that can summon itself down as well. So even if they were to negate the Dark Beckoning and we're stuck with the Chaos, this is where an Owl Mirage kind of works. And it's probably why I want to put an Owl Mirage back into the deck. Because you just link this off to Owl Mirage, and then straight away your opening Spirit Gates is live. So maybe that's why I need to put the Owl Mirage back into the deck. As a note. Yeah, so I mean, we could still extend with the Grave Squirmer, but Owl Mirage would definitely be the better way of doing it. So if Dark Beckoning gets negated, you'd have to go Grave Squirmer, link these off, and then your opening Spirit Gate is now live again. So not so bad a position, just not always guaranteed that that's going to happen. I mean, it's still not the end of the world if they destroy the Dark Beckoning, because again, they put that in the grave, unless they can stop the opening of Spirit Gates. And I think if they've got any interruption, they'll probably stop the opening of Spirit Gates straight away. Okay, so let's play through some forms of interruption. So we'll start off by a negation on the Dark Beckoning Beast. I mean, even if we re-round this all the way, like, if they, as long as they don't negate the activation of opening Spirit Gates, and even if they do, it then opens up the door, because you still got your normal summon of Samsara, you've still got Grave Squirmer, and the more stuff that they start using from their spell and trap zone, the more the Sven becomes live. Okay, so let's say they negate and destroy the opening Spirit Gates. A little bit annoying, but okay. Normal summon down Samsara D-Lotus. We're not going to activate anything as of yet here. We could risk it and go Grave Squirmer. And then the biggest issue would be is if they, not negate, but if they destroy the Samsara D-Lotus. That would be like a little bit annoying. We still got the 2 spirits to fall back on that should this go back to our opponent's battle phase. We could use the spirits to summon themselves down. But even if they imperm the Samsara, we can still summon down the Grave Squirmer. Again, it does get a little bit more awkward because this is just going to go into Yama. So we're not going to be able to build as much of a field as we might have liked. But that still would have eaten up, so I'm trying to think like the best way to go for this. So let's say they stop opening Spirit Gates, negated and destroyed. Normal summon down Samsara D-Lotus. Summon down Grey Squirmer. They negate the Samsara D-Lotus so that I'm not going to tribute it off to get into Spirit of Yubel, even though it's locked in my hand at the moment, but they don't know that. Obviously, in an ideal scenario, this would be Moon, but we can't do that anymore. So you'd probably go... I mean, we haven't used Samsara D-Lotus yet, so we go into the Muckraker, right? We'll tend to use Muckraker's effect. And if they negate the Muckraker, you're like, okay, fine. So that's 3 interruptions we've just played through. And then we get to fall back, like, unless they used all 3 spells and traps, and you're like, cool, haha, Sven, off I go. So, I mean, that's still kind of dragging out every single one of their interactions. We try to use Muckraker, they negate that. You go, okay, fine. If they still got spells and traps, we can't use Sven. If they don't, Sven comes down, off we go. And then it goes back to their battle phase. We still then, they have to destroy the Muckraker. Then we've got Spirit of Yubel to come down. And then we try and build on from there. If they can negate that, they negate that. And that's it. And we go into game number 2. But still, semi-resistant. Not like the end of the world, if that is the case. And worst case scenario, in this one, if Samsara was negated, you can go Samsara into Almirage when I put it back into the deck. With Grey Squirmer on the field already, link those both off, that's the SP Little Knight, and then you can't try and build from there. So that was like a theoretical, we got disrupted by crazy, and I think like on the standards of today's like end fields, that's probably the case. Like maybe we got, let's say we got horned on Samsara D-Lotus, we got flamed on the we got flamed on the opening Spirit Gates, but then they don't, how do they stop Spirit, right? Spirit will still just enter the field of play. And at that point, the only thing they have left is Sting. So maybe they sting, I don't know, maybe they try and sting the Grey Squirmer, but they still can't really do anything. Spirit would still come down, would still protect for a turn, and then just make it very awkward for them. Anyway, we'll do another test down guy in a second, but this time we'll try and open up the theoreticals a little bit more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not to mention as well, with that previous hand, I could have very easily made Phantom as well. So after they do all that, I still make Phantom. So this is the 5, this is the 6, okay? So again, really, really good hand. We'll start off with opening Spirit Gates. Let's say they want to negate and destroy that. You're like, okay, cool. If they've still got spells and traps on the field, I could go into Phantom if I'm worried about like a monster effect there. I'm still trying to clear out my opponent's spells and trap zones. I probably would be better off activating Nightmare Pain, use Nightmare Pain's effect to destroy the Dark Beckoning Beast, just to get me direct access to... I mean, I can go for Samsara D-Lotus if I want to, but I might save that for Lacrima. So we'll... Don't know why I went with Spirit. I don't want Spirit. We'll go with Grave Squirmer. Maybe I do need Samsara. I don't know. Okay, we'll go with this one. We'll then put back Yubel, Terra Incarnate, and Dark Beckoning. Gets us into Phantom. Normal Summon Lacrima. Lacrima's effect to send. If they want to interrupt it, they can do. So then go Infinite Impermanence. You're like, okay, cool, that sucks, but that's part and part of it. But then straight away, all you're already doing is then dragging out. You keep dragging out those spells and traps. We could try a Fiend Monster, so I can special summon down Engraver. Grave Squirmer. Put these two together. Go into Yama. Yama's effect. Grab us Shavara. Not really anything I want to destroy right here unless I want to destroy my own Yama, which is probably not advised. It's a shame that I can't get Phantom of Yubel back. But still, it depends on how risky you want to go. You could use Shavara, pop your own Phantom, but that would be absolutely crazy to do that. I don't think you really need to go that far. Like, you just go Battle Phase, Phantom, they take the damage on that one. And again, this is assuming that they've got spells and traps. If they don't have any spells and traps, you just go, cool, special summon Sven. Sven's effect, grab us, Chant, activate Chant, grab us, Eldam, special Eldam, Eldam, grab us, Sven. And then, I mean, we could still go into Requiem, because the idea would be that Requiem would send Engraver, and then we've got Engraver to come back. So that's still good for us. Requiem. Requiem into Engraver. There we go. We can use Requiem Engrave, equip to Engraver, use this to destroy one. I could use Shavara if I want to. Don't know if I really need to though. Put these two together, go into Sequence. Sequence effect, put back, I'll just get this one right. I haven't summoned Lacrima for a while these days. 2 Light Fiends, very easy. So we'll put back this one, and we'll put back, I'm going to put back Requiem maybe. Don't need to worry about too much. It's both got to go in the deck. Lacrima, Lacrima's effect, bring back Engraver. Overlay these two. I mean, I don't even need to overlay them if I don't want to, but you can do. You can overlay both of these. Actually, they're probably like more beneficial to me being separate than they are together. I can use Shavara to destroy Sequence. I can then use Yama, banish itself. If there's anything worth bringing back, I suppose bring back Lacrima. I mean, that gives you a bit of an attack on the field. So you'd go Phantom, and then you've got 24, 18, 2k, 1200. And if they still survive, you've got the ability to overlay 2 of these, should you wish to. Probably overlay these 2, to be honest, because we'll go here. And then I would go this and this to go into SP. SP would then banish, but then Lacrima can also trigger the Fusion Lacrima to put Sequence back and then burn for 1200. So if they have 1200 or less left, you do that burn, and that's your game. So yeah, it's cool. Like, it's definitely a different way to play this deck. It's definitely a way to keep it relevant. I know there are a couple of different versions out there. I know that there was a Yummy Yubel that I featured on the channel for a duel. That's Christian's personal version. I think that's kind of cool. You basically like use the level 1s to give you a bridge to the Yummy cards. I just really like the Radiant Typhoon cards, and then being able to utilize them to bridge into the Fiends quite easily. It does make it a bit more awkward going second, as we kind of saw in those kind of test stands, because you can never guarantee exactly what your opponent has. But still kind of cool, still something a little bit different, still something a bit more, to give you something to think about, I guess, is the best way to put it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully it's given you a bit of an idea on how the deck wants to function, how it kind of does function, and the different kind of routes it can go down. Any questions, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I am more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.